Three men have been arrested by British police investigating the ongoing horse meat scandal. They're being detained on suspicion of offences under the Fraud Act. And separately, it's now emerged that a potentially harmful drug for humans may have entered the food chain through tainted horse meat. Well, the UK Food Standards Agency tested 206 horse carcasses. 6 were found to contain traces of the horse painkiller bute. It's emerged the carcasses went to France, where they may have entered the food chain. The US describes bute as a carcinogen. However, on the other hand, Britain has played down the risks to consumers. French prosecutors are now investigating how horse meat actually came to be sold as beef. It's a crime carrying a potential prison sentence of up to 2 years. And in The Hague, in the Netherlands, Britain's Environment Secretary met with Europol and also with the EU's judicial agency as well, which is called Eurojust. He says, quote, "It's increasingly clear that this case reaches right across Europe." I'm joined by Nick Robertson, who's in our London studio and has been following the trials and tribulations of this over the last couple of days. It's getting quite nasty, isn't it, Nick? Criminal offences here, and also we now have an idea of just the sheer scale of how much horse meat we're talking about.
We do. I mean, these are the 3 arrests today in Britain are the first 3 arrests, and they involve people who were involved at the abattoir and the meat packing plant that were under investigation in Britain earlier in the week. But now we've heard from the French Minister of Commerce outlining how much horse meat was passed off as beef, 750 tonnes over a several-month period. And he was very specific. The case has been passed to prosecutor, but he said in the case of the company that was doing it, that they should have known that this was horse meat from its smell, from its colour, from the price they paid from it, from the customs code that was written on it, but they relabelled it as beef, he said.
That's what most people would automatically think, wouldn't they? If a carcass arrives and it's clearly the carcass of a horse, you'd have some questions, right? And this is where the whole bute issue comes in, isn't it? This phenyl butazone, painkiller given to horses, but it can have some really nasty effects if consumed by humans. And
now we know that almost undoubtedly it has. 206 horse carcasses tested from an abattoir in Somerset 2 weeks ago. 8 of them confirmed to contain the bute. According to the health minister here, 3 of those entered the food chain in France. Again, these are carcasses from Britain that are being shipped to France and entering the food chain in another country. It just gives you an idea of the complexity. But we do understand from the government scientist here that you would have to eat about 500 burgers a day with this contaminated meat. I mean, it's an unrealistic sort of figure to be affected by the quantities of bute that are contained. However, if you have been using this substance bute in the past, it was once legal, has been withdrawn, then you might be exposed to serious complications.
Yes, and obviously it raises all sorts of concerns about other types of, the safety of other types of food as well, if we find out that these things are in the food chain. Thanks so much for that. That is Nick Robertson here in our London studio following that story. We'll have more Quest Means Business.